Welcome to Zen Live TV. I'm your host, Jeremy the Alien Scientist Riss, and we are going to be talking about solar freaking roadways today and sort of some other transportation ideas. I'm going to be showing, everyone's seen this viral video, I think, of the solar freaking roadways. It's got 16 million views now up on YouTube if you go and look this up. But if you haven't seen it yet, it's basically the idea of using these solar panels as road tiles to basically pave the roads with these solar panels and use the electricity from the roads to power all kinds of vehicles and stuff. And I thought it was a really great idea. It's a really exciting, really good promotional video. I'd like to hire this guy, who he was that made this video, and get him to sort of do videos for some of these other cool ideas too that are out there, because he did a really great job with they have an Indiegogo campaign up for this solar roadways. They have a website, solarroadways.com, I think, and yeah, solarroadways.com, and they basically have this really great hype up video that was really exciting and really got me pumped about it, and it got a lot of other people's attention too. They've been talking about it on RT, and Lee Camp and Abby Martin both have done pieces covering this very positively. And but there's also a number of people out there that have been doing very negative reviews of this. One of those guys is Thunderfoot on YouTube, and he's got a video, Solar Freakin' Roadways, Are They Real?, that has 100,000 views on YouTube right now. And I thought that he made some valid criticisms, but also some of his criticisms, you know, you could probably get around those things with engineering, and I'm going to talk about some of these criticisms and play his clips for you today on the show, and we're going to basically dissect this and dig into it, and hopefully we'll get some other people to call in with some other ideas, and later on about the show, and so anyways, I want to play this first clip for you, so you guys can sort of see the. I didn't really like Thunderfoot's approach. He's really very full of vitriol. It seems like a lot of nasty words, a lot of nasty vocabulary, and very nasty tone that he takes in this whole thing. But I'll play the first clip. It's the longest one of the ones I'm gonna play, and then talk about each piece as we go over it. And it's Thunderfoot.mp4. So just roll that one real quick for us.
Again and again, they say this is just some inventor guy and his wife. And that pretty much shows through in their knowledge base, which seems to be mostly electronics. They don't have a clue about thermodynamics, energy transport, or road construction.
Julie's a therapist, I'm an engineer, we have zero marketing skills, we've never sold anything. We don't know where to go from here. So
we've come this far with just the two of us and a couple of part-time volunteers.
To enable our vision, we'll need to build manufacturing facilities in every state in the U.S. and nearly every country in the world.
And of course, roads are very dirty places. They get covered in dirt and oil. And a solar panel covered in dirt and oil really ain't going to generate that much electricity. And all of that dirt, combined with the traffic movement, is abrasive stuff. It will just grind away a relatively soft material like glass. I mean, think about it this way. Dirt is basically really small rocks. Now you're going to grind that dirt against glass under the wheels of, say, a 20-ton tractor trailer. What do you think is going to happen? Yup, this is just going to grind down the glass and make it smoother and slippier and more opaque. Really not so sure that these bricks are going to have a long life expectancy as a road surface. And of course, their calculations assume that the solar panels under the road are going to be as efficient as a top-range solar plant.
If we covered that with solar panels, just a 15% efficiency, we produce 3 times more electricity than this country uses on an annual basis.
And I think that's a little optimistic. Look, currently solar farms where they have essentially uninterrupted daily sun, you know, in places like California, where it's actually pretty good. You build your power station near where the electricity is going to be used, such that you cut down on your transport losses and the cost of building the infrastructure. deserty areas in America, you typically have no shortage of places to build something like that, because it's the desert, and not many people live in the desert. Plus, they are relatively easy to maintain because you didn't build a road surface over the top of it. I mean, in many ways, a far better variant of this plan would just be to build a giant shed over the top of the roads or top of the car park, and then put the solar panels on that. You get no losses from the bricks being dirty and absorbing the light. You get to angle your solar panels such that they're much more efficient. Something, of course, that you can never do when they're actually built into the road surface. Plus, you now have much easier, uninterrupted access to your solar panels because they're not under the road. Plus, you can now downlight the roads, and it allows you much easier access to the blacktop. Plus, all of your lights now point downwards under a shed, which will cut down on light pollution. Plus, now all of your roads are covered, and they won't get slippy because they won't get wet. Or for that matter, if it's over the top of a car park, your car will stay dry. Plus, now you can keep all of your road workers because you're still maintaining the existing blacktop technology. And at this point, you've just got to be honest that it would be far more efficient to just put your solar panels along the side of the road rather than under it. So why is there all this buzz around this inventor and his wife? Well, fundamentally, I think it's because people think that it's a really cool idea. However, it is notable that the Department of Transport only gave them a few smallish innovation grants and nothing afterwards.
Early last year, we saw the United States Department of Transportation put out a solicitation for some kind of paving material that could pay for itself over its lifetime. Excuse me. We applied for it and we got it. It was a phase 1 research grant.
But frankly, most of these folks who are excited about this don't have the slightest clue about the technical challenges of building a road or transporting energy, or for that matter, why we currently use the materials that we do. This is basically the thorium-powered car all over again. If you could make one, it would be super cool. You could drive for 100 years on just 8 grams of thorium. If you ignore the minor technical detail that it's currently technologically impossible and that it's never likely to be technologically possible, then it's a great idea. It's kind of like saying, what if we could build a pogo stick that could get us to the moon? Well, if we could, then it would be really cool. It would be a cheap, reusable way of getting to the moon.
This is exactly the kind of over-the-horizon thinking that has brought Idaho's own solar roadways to national and world prominence.
However, a few back-of-the-envelope calculations will show you that it's just impossible. The materials simply don't exist. Now, sure, the march of technology and knowledge can make some of these things possible, but a pogo stick that can get you to the moon is just outside of that envelope. Similarly here, fundamentally, the materials simply do not exist. Look, everything here basically depends on getting material as good as asphalt for topping the surface of the road that is optically clear. We're not talking about something you can park your car on for 10 minutes or something that you can run a single lab test on. We're talking about something you can drive your car on for 20 years and have it still be optically clear with the same physical properties as blacktop. And that's the core problem. This material does not exist, nor is it ever likely to exist in a cost-effective form, let alone one that you can make out of some few shovels of crappy ground-up coloured glass. And this point isn't even remotely addressed in any of their material, nor is there any attempt to address how they expect to transport the power that would be generated from these solar panels to a point where it could be used. Now, invariably when I put a video like this up, people will claim that I'm simply a pawn for this industry or that, and put simply, no. No, I'm not, and I'll tell you why. These videos are openly supported by supporters of this channel through Patreon, and it's they who allow me to operate completely independently of any vested corporate interests. It's that allows me the freedom to call out popular or well-sold bullshit wherever it's put forward. No matter if it's NASA's claims about extraterrestrial life, or powdered alcohol, or thorium-powered cars, or solar-powered roads. You know, this sort of investigative, scientifically literate reporting that you wish the mainstream media actually did. And it's that independence that allows me to say that this stinks. A high-tech glass road
Stinks.
made
All
out
right,
of garbage
you can cut it off there.
with
You can stop it there.
tests. Seriously, if you believe.
Yeah. So anyways, he gets like, he's just really starts lacing into it and going off and bringing all kinds of different stuff into it, like the thorium powered cars and the NASA extraterrestrials and all this other stuff. So I don't know, he's got a lot of other videos with a lot of other opinions on a lot of these other things, and I'd really like to get him on for a debate about some of those other issues, especially his videos on cold fusion and the stuff he said about cold fusion, which I really don't think he's looked into that deeply at all. And the thorium power car, I think I agree with him on to a certain extent, and well, the NASA, that's another issue we could talk about another time. But back to the points that he made about the solar roadways and stuff, and he does come across with a very negative attitude and a very poor tone. But some of the points that he makes in the video, I think, are valid from a engineering standpoint. It might just be a better idea to mount solar panels on the side of the road and just or put them on or use road coverings. And so there's a couple other issues too I wanted to focus on in particular. The mounting thing is one issue. I mean, putting them on an elevated platform is obviously going to cost more for the support structures you're going to need to build that, rather than just putting them on the side of the road and using the power, if you're going to use solar power to run things just from the side of the road. And one of the things that I thought was interesting is that in 1956, I have an image of this you can show, the Federal Highway Act of 1956. Eisenhower signed this interstate highway system, where basically he built all the highway systems across the United States. And one interesting thing is that every certain number of miles, this has to be a straight strip where an aircraft could land in a time of emergency or warfare if they needed to get supplies into an area. So that way they had a highway system, not just for the commerce and for the people, but also for the military, for strategic objectives after World War II. And so he commissioned this whole thing with the highway system, and I thought it would be interesting if you know, what if they were to have the president were to recommission some sort of new changing in infrastructure for the whole highway system, a transportation system that would connect the continental United States with some other type of technology. And what would that be? Would it be a solar roadways? Would they buy enough of these solar roadways to pave the entire United States in solar roadways? Would that be the optimal thing to do? Would that be even feasible? How much would it cost? There's a lot of issues that are brought up in this video, and calculations that are done, which I think are extreme, because they're calculating for every street in America, and you not necessarily you would do that all at once. You'd probably do this in single parts and small bits at once. But I want to roll another part real quick. This issue about the road heaters. I want to talk about this for a second before we roll this clip, but just get this one ready for us. The road heating elements. They have this one part of the video where he talks in the solar roadways, where it talks about heating the roads to melt all the snow off them, rather than paying for the removal of the snow. And on their Clear the Air page, they have actually a page with the rebuttals. It's called clearingtheair.html on their solar roadways page, and I'll post a link to this, where they have they actually try to address some of these criticisms and claims against them. And I thought it was interesting the way that they had written it, and the way that they had responded to some of these claims. They didn't really they didn't really complete their arguments, especially in this one particular part. Let me find it real quick. heat the roads. It claims that we spend it quotes some Federal Highways Administration report that shows that we spend $2.3 billion on snow and ice removal operations annually each year, and so $2.3 billion, and then compare that to how much it would cost to heat the roads if you were to heat them, and with the kilowatt hours that it would cost to heat the roads and remove the snow that way. And then compare that to the cost of just building a giant shed or a hood over the entire roads so that it would keep the snow off the roads, or even the rain and everything else off the roads. And then you wouldn't have to plow them either. The snow would accumulate on the roofs and or the roof of the shed that would go over. There's lots of other things. I'd like to sit down and actually run all these numbers. Actually, I didn't have time to do that before the show, but I'd like someone to sit down and make a whole page on this. In fact, I might do a whole page on the solar roadways stuff and talk about a lot of these other technologies that are out there, just in terms of the numbers of what it would cost, and also. I think it's a very valid argument. The number one, the most important argument is the road tests and the durability of this glass material and how it will react to dirt and dust and rocks and giant trucks, 18-wheelers, dump trucks full of dirt and rocks driving over these things, banging them around. I'd like to see how they hold up. Literally, how sheets of glass would hold up, even tempered glass. I mean, you can get pretty durable glass, but I'd like to see how the real sheets of glass would hold up over time to this sort of abuse that they would have to undergo. Although, you could argue. I'd just like to see more experiments done with these things. And they have a lot of rebuttals on this page, on their website, on the Clearing the Air for the solarroadways.com. They have a lot of rebuttals. They have this math graphic which is meant to look like they're doing technical rebuttals or scientific things with a bunch of trigonometric functions that they have here, but they don't have. If they want to be scientific about this, they need to do road tests and show stop tests on this. Show a kid riding a bike across it and trying to stop on it. Show a car trying to slam to a complete stop from 50 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour on these solar roadway surfaces, on this glass material finish. Show 100,000, 200,000 repetitions of constant grinding away on the road surface by have a tire automated drive over it over and over again. This is the kind of engineering stuff that you'd need to do feasible for the Department of Transportation or for anything before they'd be willing to build any sort of serious roads or on a large scale out of these materials. And I wish them luck in taking this grant money and using it toward building more durable test models, but they need to be doing a lot of experiments with this technology to prove that it's up to capabilities and will have the material properties that asphalt does, if not better than asphalt does. But as far as the heating element goes, it's just he did the calculation in this next video, which I'm going to show you, where he shows what it would cost to do the heating element and heat the annual snowfall on a stretch, just a particular stretch of highway, and it ended up being $2 million. But anyways, let's roll that clip real quick, the heating element one.
And of course, there are parts of this presentation that are straight, pure, unrefined bullshit. You see, roads are actually fairly good thermal absorbers than almost anything else.
No more useless asphalt and concrete just sitting there baking in the sun.
Roads are collecting heat anyways.
And that's why roads in summer get very hot. Now they're proposing using these high-tech bricks to melt the snow.
Those in the north, the panels use energy they collect to power elements to keep the surface temperature a few degrees above freezing.
Oh my. Did you just say that in the north, like where there's not much sun, in winter, when there's even less sun, during a snowstorm where there's even less sun, they're going to use that solar energy to heat things to melt the snow?
They're heated. No more ice and snow on roads causing traffic delays, accidents, and injury. No more shoveling your driveway and sidewalk. No salt corroding your car or wasting tax money on snow removal. And you can ride your bike or drive your motorcycle all year round. Whoa!
Which is just grade 7 bullshit. It takes a huge amount of energy to change ice into water. That is, to melt ice. That's why we use snow plows and not snow melters. That is, the physical energy required to move the snow to the side of the road is far less than the amount of energy to melt that snow. Now, the best amount of energy you're going to harvest from these bricks is essentially what you would get if you paint the bricks black, almost like the blacktop road. And no, even with the best energy harvest you can get off a blacktop road, it's still nowhere near as efficient to melt a good snowfall in winter. But what I hear you say, they're actually talking about heating the roads. Seriously, heating the roads with heating elements in their bricks. Are you kidding me? It takes a huge amount of energy to melt ice. It takes as much energy to turn ice at 0 degrees into water at 0 degrees. That is, just the energy to melt a unit mass of ice requires the same amount of energy as heating water at 0 degrees Celsius up to water at 70 degrees Celsius. That's 3/4 of the way to boiling. I mean,
That's
think
right.
about
Google
that.
latent
Rather
heat.
than just moving the snow to the side of the road, they are proposing using as much energy over the entire US road system as heating that water up from 0 degrees Celsius to 3/4 the way to boiling. And that's assuming that this is a 100% efficient system where they lose no heat to either the sub-zero temperature of the road foundation or the atmosphere.
The heating elements will keep the road surface snow and ice free all winter long.
So, some ballpark numbers. Let's just take this one single freeway from New York City to Washington. A couple of 100 miles or kilometers, that sort of distance. And let's say the average snowfall for this region is about 2 feet a year. That's about 2/3 of a meter. And you go through the numbers and you find that just the energy bill for just that one road alone would be about $2 million per year.
All right. So, anyways, $2 million per year. The whole idea of heating the roads, I don't think it's economically feasible. I don't think it's thermodynamically feasible. I don't think it's very well thought out physics, especially for, you know, what it would cost in the long run to heat the roads and do that. It's just cheaper to push the snow off to the side of the road and melt it. I have to agree with them on this one. But anyways, we're at the half-hour mark, and we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
Are you a smoker and you need to quit, but you're discouraged because it's harder than some like doing me? Vape, baby, White Plains vapors. Vape, baby, White Plains vapors. Are you a non-smoker but you like to do the tricks? Well, these are non-toxic clouds that exit your lips. Vape, baby, White Plains. Oh yeah, yeah. White Plains Vapors, located at 210 Mamaroneck Avenue in White Plains, New York. Visit our location and choose from a wide selection of exotic flavors. Addicted to Ink, a proud sponsor of the Zaraza Entertainment Network, is Westchester's premier tattoo, piercing, and apparel destination, offering only the finest tattoo and piercing services as well as the best atmosphere you will find. Addicted to Ink is located conveniently at 38 Westchester Avenue in White Plains, New York, right across the street from the Westchester Mall. If you got the itch for more ink, like the Zaraza boys do, get your work done right. Visit www.addictedtoinktattoos.com for more information.
And we're back.
Oh, my mic wasn't on. Sorry, I had my mic muted. Anyways, I did want to. I don't know how much I missed. Crap. Should have said something. You should have interrupted me and let me know. Anyways, what I was saying is, if you look in the overall, I think that he makes a lot of good points about the technology not being as feasible as other things. Optimally, I think that it's better to just build solar panels in the middle of the highways and have them on angle things that would follow the sun, so you get maximum absorption, not have a material like a road surface between them, and then use that hot energy to power a special lane in the highway system, like in the high-speed lane. They could redo all the highway systems in the U.S. to accommodate for these electric high-speed lanes, where electric vehicles could recharge their batteries in that lane, or even trucks and heavy vehicles that use lots of gas and lots of energy to transport really heavy loads could use electrical power generated by solar to run in that lane, and basically save a lot of energy and gas costs as well. It would reduce our oil dependence. It would reduce the amount of and there's a lot of energy that gets used to be on the highway because you're pushing a lot more air around because you're going at high speeds. So it would really be a good idea just to build solar panels in the medians of the highways and have these smart highways. There's been a couple videos talking about these smart highways online. There's a couple websites talking about smart highways. I think that's a much more economic and realistic idea than the solar roadways idea, even though this solar roadways thing has gotten a incredible amount of attention. So anyways, I want to talk about some other technologies. I'm not just going to sit. I know we sat here for the first half hour and really criticized this solar roadways thing and really picked it apart scientifically and looked at a lot of the things. Not all the criticisms from Thunderfoot's video I agree with. You know, I really think that experimental testing really needs to come up with the hard proof. Again, the hardness of glass is harder technically than the hardness of asphalt on that scale, which he points out that the hardness of glass isn't hard enough in one of those segments we played, but glass is actually harder than asphalt. I'm still not convinced about how it would hold up in a actual situation to wear and tear on a road surface over time, and how it would also transmit light and work as that sort of device. So I think that the heating element's not going to work. The hardness factor, the stopping factor, that all needs experimental testing. He did make another quick comment. We could play this clip about the road tiles and the effects of tiles. And I thought that the argument that he made here was rather not well thought out. At least he didn't offer any real easy solutions, which the solution's easy. You just have the tiles locked together and then they don't torque and move independently and have differential compression. So anyways, we'll play that road tiles clip real quick. It's only 20 seconds long or something. So.
And secondly, as a vehicle will roll across such a tile, you'll get differential loading, which will cause the tiles to slowly work their way loose. Sure, these processes can take days, months, or even years. But these are some of the reasons why you've never seen a freeway made out of tiles. Yeah, so anyways, if you just lock the tiles together or even have them bound together in some sort of web, they won't have that rotational differential loading, and they won't torque and compress the dirt underneath them in weird ways that will jiggle them loose or make them sink out of alignment, allowing water and other stuff in. So anyways, the other argument that he made was about the LED lights working and the LED lights that they have inside these solar roadways that light the roads, and they could work. They need to be developed for daytime viewing so that people could see them actually during the daytime, although they do have LED traffic lights that work during the daytime. Of course, they have a giant shade over the top so that it's shaded in that area. I'm not sure how they'd work on the road surface where you can't really get a shading element in there that easily. Maybe if you had it at an angle
somehow. I don't know. It might be possible. It's still, it's more engineering problem than saying that, oh, this can't work because this would be hard to do or whatever. That can be solved with engineering. But anyways, we have some other people I think we're gonna get on with us here shortly. I'm not sure if Bill James is called in yet. He's gonna come on and talk about another type of technology that we've had him on before, and he's basically he's the CEO of JPods, which is kind of like this gondola type transport. I've talked about a lot of other types of transportation systems out there that could work. Of course, these smart highways are a very good alternative to these solar roadways. I think that also ET3, the evacuated tube transport, and the Elon Musk's Hyperloop is a really cool idea. And I think what Tesla Motors and Elon Musk recently did with the Tesla vehicles and the Tesla, all the patents for his Tesla electric vehicles, releasing all that stuff to the public, I thought that was very, very noble to the name of Nikola Tesla to go and pull a move like that and open source all your inventions so that the world can have these technologies that will save our planet from the oil-driven greed destruction we're currently headed into with peak oil and the demand for oil just going up and the supply just not being infinite. It's going to run out. It's not going to last forever, this age of cheap energy. I thought it was interesting that at the very end of Thunderfoot's video, he says if it sounds too good, it is. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. And I thought that was it was a really illogical claim, because if you think about it, oil is this whole sound of this idea of energy we can pump out of the ground, and it's got all these uses and all these things we can do with it. Yeah, that sounds too good to be true, but it's not. You know, I guess the idea that it will last forever is too good to be true. But I don't know. I thought that he did make a lot of he does make a lot of false claims and draw these overgeneralizations, and this pure and utter bullshit, and I don't know. Anyways, enough about the whole Thunderfoot and solar roadways business. I want to talk about other things like these evacuated tube transports, and I'm going to see if we can get Bill James to come on. He said he might call in, and let me see if he'll call in. But anyways, there's a lot of engineering issues. Like I said, I go over there with I've gone over a lot of different types of transportation technologies, a lot of different ideas that are out there. Solar cars, hydrogen cars is another really interesting business. I have a guy that I want to get on. He's really good with the hydrogen cars. He's worked for a few companies building them out in California, and he knows quite a bit about hydrogen vehicles, using hydrogen as a medium for storage of energy. And of course, it's really good because hydrogen combusts and you can get a lot of energy out really quickly, which is what you need for a car. People want a lot of energy when they drive cars. That's why they like these Tesla cars. They have a lot of they're really, really fast. They got a lot of muscle behind them. So I thought it was really really good move that Tesla Motors went and released all their patents on that. That was super huge, and I really think that the future would be inside these for the highway systems anyway, because I've come to the conclusion these JPods are a good idea. I think they're really going to work in certain places in the world, like in China's really interested in building them, and a lot of other really densely populated places like in India and whatnot, and in other parts of the world. They'd work really well where people don't already have cars. But here in America, where we have cars and everyone's already so used to driving and having a vehicle all the time, I really think that these electric vehicles, electric cars, you're not going to get rid of the vehicle altogether right away. I mean, the JPods is nice because it's an elevated road system. It doesn't interfere with the existing cars or traffic roadways. But I think that you're not going to get rid of the car completely. We're going to have to make adjustments over. I think these hybrid electric vehicles and these smart lanes with the electric charging on the smart highways with the smart lane that just recharges your car or powers big heavy trucks, and it could be running all our transit sort of on those types of things to start. I think that'd be a great idea. But as far as intercity travel, and I think we have Bill James on with us. So why don't we have him say hello? And Bill James is the CEO of JPods Incorporated, and he's a guy like me. He's thought quite a bit about transportation in his life. And Bill, are you there?
Yeah, I am, Jeremy. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. So, Bill, transportation is just such a huge issue. I think that if you look at energy, I have a graph of energy consumption in the U.S. here, and why don't you show that real quick? Electric power is about 40%, industrial is 21%, residential and commercial is about 10%, but transportation is 29% of the U.S. energy consumption by sector. So it's 30%. It's a huge chunk. We're not so much, and most of that transportation energy is petroleum. It's energy that we have to import from overseas. And so our national security depends on that oil, and I think that transportation is such a key element of and such a key problem to solve. There's so many technologies out there that could be used. There's so many ideas out there, and I've thought about the transportation problem because it's half of what everything that happens in the world. What do? People do things and they go places. That's all people really do. You can reduce it to those two things. So half of it is going places, and I definitely think JPods is going places. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, we really should look at it in terms of economic work. So energy applying energy to moving goods and services generates economic work, just like you add work into a flywheel. And so transportation is the circulatory system for an economy. And 50% dependence on imported oil to feed ourselves is extraordinarily high risk. You're seeing this come apart in Mosul right now as Iraq goes into chaos. So we're at significant risk in the U.S. The key thing about transportation is we already know radically safer and more efficient transportation is practical. Freight rail averages 476 ton miles per gallon. So if we know we can move a ton at 400 miles per gallon, why do we move a person at 18? So what JPods do is they look at it and say, remove the parasitic mass, remove the start stops. Now 260 passenger miles per gallon is really easy to attain. And I think the solar roadways are kind of cute, and there will be specialty niches where almost anything has applicability.
Right. I think they'd be cool for certain areas, like in a city like Arizona and like a park or something where people aren't really out during the day, and like these hot areas in the summertime where they could get a lot of energy during the daytime and then light up like Tron at night. I think that would be cool. There's definitely applications for them in certain places.
Yeah, I think the applications in aesthetics and in artwork is pretty cool, but in terms of using them to for highways doesn't resolve the problem of moving a ton to move a person. We still have to get off of that enormous moving that parasitic mass around. It would not solve congestion. It would not solve accidents. It would not solve all the huge problems that make driving to and from work really suck. So if you want to solve those, you have to go to building a different network than the highway.
In fact, one of the things on their one of the things they quote from the Federal Highway Administration quote on their page, part of that $1 billion, I think it's fractioned in for part of that cost is in the cost of accidents and injury resulting from weather as well.
Right.
So
Right. About accidents cost Americans about $300 billion a year. Congestion costs about $121 billion.
well, so yeah, that's definitely not figured into that then, because 300 billion is quite a bit more than.
Right. So there's an imported oil costs about 500 billion. So from my point of view, freight rail will be the logistical artery as oil supply continues to become ever more expensive. And it's gone up 500% in the last 15 years. So in the next 5, we shouldn't be surprised if it goes up double. So your price of a gallon of gas or price for a tank of gas goes over $100 a tank, and that's going to be unaffordable by most people. So it doesn't matter how much oil there is in the world. It matters how much you can. If you can fill your gas tank with oil reserves, you're going to be perfectly fine. But if you have to get the gas from a gas station, you're pretty much screwed.
Yeah, within the next 25, 30 years, I see that happening. It's gonna go be like, I mean, in some countries it's already $10 a gallon. But in Venezuela it's like 47 cents a gallon. So it's
but it depends on the fully burdened. If you add in the $7 trillion we've spent on oil wars since 1970, and you capitalize that properly into a price of a gallon of gas, you'd see that gas would be about $14 a gallon. But we socialized that into national debt. So and resource depletion we're socializing, and pollution we're socializing. So we've made an awful lot of mistakes that make free markets not adapt to real situations.
It's true. I only wish that. I mean, what do you think it will take to get this an economic effort, or do you think it's going to take like a political effort, like politicians getting behind this technology and signing things like the Eisenhower Highway Act of 1956, or
the Eisenhower's Federal Aid to Highways Act of 1956 actually created this defect. So the Constitution is very specific in listing an enumeration limitation of nothing more than post roads. And that came into being on September 14th, 1787 in the convention. Dr. Franklin proposed that the federal government fund highways and canals, and James Madison recommended it be raised to a level of power to form corporations to build things the federal government needed. And George Mason reminded the delegates of the problem with the Crown transportation monopoly, and they rejected it 8 states to 3, fixing it nothing more than post roads, the ability to deliver letters. So had we allowed free markets to work, we would have already transitioned by now into a solar-powered economy where we would have things like JPods and ET3 and Hyperloop would have been built over the last 50 years, just like the internet was created in 1969 and the first radio telephone in 1946. But neither of those could commercialize until the federal monopoly was broken in 1982.
Oh, and what they're trying to do to the internet now, and restrict it and put it under the control of all the corporations, so you have to pay to get high speed, and it's just a shame. It would destroy culture and so much potential.
Well, people need to react very strongly to that, and the NSA mapping our metadata, which is really mapping your personality. I don't need to know what you say if I store your personality. You know, all of these things are, all right, so I'm a West Point grad and an infantry veteran, and the whole Department of Homeland Security creates a new kind of standing army with the ethics of TSA. So we need defenses and we need armed forces, but they need to be held under enormously deep compliance with written orders. And when they can just do whatever they want and claim secrecy over all that they want, it's extraordinarily dangerous.
Right. I agree. So we have maybe 2 or 3 minutes left. Let's wrap it up, and then.
Well, one of the things that I think people have to look at is do specialty things. Don't try to make what's broken work. Make what's efficient have an opportunity. So by suspending the vehicles below the rails and taking out all the parasitic mass in the stop-starts, you get huge efficiency. Then solar collectors can be deployed over the top of the rails to gather the energy to power the network. So we can gather somewhere between 25,000 and 42,000 vehicle miles of power per mile of rail per day. So we do not have an energy problem. And we don't have to make hardened silicone blocks that can handle tons of cargo and vehicles going over them. If you put the solar collectors over the top, where they're nice and clean and lifted, and if we do that, we will power. And the town of Secaucus read the first ordinance on. So in 2 weeks or 2 news cycles, they will pass a law that says if you can build it with private capital, operate it without subsidies, pay the government 5% of gross revenues, will be regulate and exceed 120 passenger miles per gallon, will be regulated by the theme park industry standards so we can access commercial insurance, and will be environmentally regulated as a ratio of energy we don't use to existing modes. So once we have that law, then other agencies are going to have to reject why they will have to fight an existing law as opposed to just say no.
That's awesome, man. I cannot wait for that.
It's gonna be so cool.
Hey, this is awesome. You know, like this is gonna be the future. I really see that happening sooner than I see the solar roadways really taking off. I mean, they got a lot of
solar roadways are going to be really fun to have as art, and there's a niche for everything.
Man.
So when everybody sees something and says, "Well, this is really cool," look at it and says, "Is it generally applicable or just really cool?" If it's really cool,
Right.
find the right niche for it and use it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, think like Las Vegas or some of these other cities where you could just have whole parks lined up with those tiles, and then program them all with the electronics and have like concerts there and stuff. I mean, that would be awesome. All the colors and like stuff you could program into that. I mean, like that would be an application right there, I think, for it. I mean, there's probably many others in addition to having them as roadways. I think maybe even bike paths or stuff. But again, yeah, it has to be in a sunny area, and I'd like to see more experimental tests on the surface quality and stopping and everything else.
Well, all engineering problems can be engineered. So that's just you just have to apply it. To make it an economically viable is the key. So you have to find the niche in which there's a payback. Right now, it looks like it's being government funded, which means that it's probably not self-sustaining as a general solution.
Right. Yeah, they got a good amount raised from the Indiegogo campaign and that really catchy and powerful hype video that they had made, but I don't know. We'll see where it takes off from here, but I'm glad I took the time to really talk about it and dig in and look at both sides of the arguments too, not just, say, oh, this sounds great, this is going to be the future, that's the end of it. We win, our economy's saved, Well,
that's what biofuels was supposed to do too, right?
That's time.
Right. All right. That's it. That's a wrap. Thanks for watching.